Okay, so we're going to go to Hyper-V. Under Virtual Switch Manager, I'm going to create one switch called public that's external. I shouldn't have clicked OK. I should hit apply. Sorry. So now I'm going to create another switch, but it's going to be a private switch. I'm going to call it fake public. This is going to be the network that's going to use these public IP addresses. If we had real public IP addresses, we wouldn't need this. It's a private network that I'm just going to set up to fake the a real public IP. In DirectAccess, if they don't see a real public IP, they won't let you go through the wizard. Won't even launch the wizard properly. And then I'm going to create another one called private.
On virtual switch, what's the difference between private and internal?
Private is only the virtual machines can access that switch. Internal, the virtual machines and the real machine can access that switch. So I'm going to create some hard disk. New hard disk. Again, a differencing disk. I'm going to call this one fake ISP. Okay, I'm going to browse to my parent disk, VHD, VHDs, parent, and choose the 2016. I need to create a NAT, a DC, a DA, and a client. The client is going to be Windows 10.
Everything one player or two?
Just one. We'll move it from inside and outside. We'll just connect it to a different switch.
So not DC client.
NAT DC, DA, fake ISP, and a client. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 machines total. Guys, I'm going to create a shortcut so I don't keep having to navigate here. For the client, I'm just going to link it to the Windows 10. I'll link it to the Windows 10 parent disk. Guys, remember, fake ISP and NAT don't boot until you add the second NICs. So I'm going to attach my fake ISP to my public, and before I boot it, I'm going to attach it to the fake public as well. I'm going to go into settings, add a second network adapter, fake public. So the fake ISP should be attached to public and fake public. The NAT should be attached to fake public and private.
Are we going to put two NICs on the client?
No, you only need one. We'll just unplug it and attach it to a different switch virtually.
DA goes in private, right?
DA goes in private, as does the
DC and the
DC in the client.
And that is what?
The NAT is fake public and private. What machine am I working on? DC. DC is private, DA is private, client is private.
That's two clients, right?
Just one. We can move it from one to the other.
So we can start all of them now?
Yep. As long as you have two NICs here, ISP should be attached to public and fake public. The NAT should be attached to fake public and private. We're going to use our normal 172.16.00/16 subnet for our private, and for our fake public, we're going to steal someone's public address. This is going to be VM1, VM2, VM3, VM4, VM5.
So the ISP is on fake public and public?
Yes.
So a client just represents like someone with a laptop leaving the network.
Right.
going up.
In fact, when we set up this DA, we have to do something specific to make it not just look for laptops. Because by default, it only applies to laptops. Why would you want something like this for a desktop or a server? So we have to do something special so it applies to any machine that we want. Do you remember when we talked about WMI filters when we were looking at group policies, setting up the permissions? It's actually a WMI filter. Filters for, so it's actually, I can use that as an example to show a WMI. I'm sorry, I have no other marker. What are you looking for? I haven't gotten there yet. I don't even have that. So for our public interface on fake NAT, we're going to use 10.3.13 station number. So I'm going to do that right now. I need to change my screen resolution for my virtual machines. While I'm waiting for one machine to sign in, I'm going to go sign in all of them because that first sign in takes so long. My client is still booting. Okay.
Susie Brian,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt you. I turned on my computer in the next room, so I want to do some troubleshooting with you.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Listen, and I want to do something too. Apply the patches. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me pause this video.
You want the camera here?
Give me 1 second to pause this.
I know, he works like 20 hours a week.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my fake public. First step is to identifying which NIC is which. Which one is public, which one is fake?
The CSC also was public.
Guys, you have to label these. Now, for our public side, we're just going to stick with our normal IPs for our school's network. This is outside of our network, so I don't really care which DNS server you use.
On the last part, we use our service station, right?
Right. That's why I left it blank. Because if I put anything, you guys go on autopilot.
That was for the public NIC, right?
Right, that was for the public.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, the subnet on the fake public, that's the default class B.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm going to click OK here. So on the fake public, remember, the computers get one default gateway. So on this, if we put a default gateway on the other interface, we don't put one on this one. Everyone can use the same IPs from this point on. Again, this is outside my network. I don't care what DNS server it uses. I'll click OK, close. Get in the habit of setting your host names. I noticed a lot of you aren't doing that. Station number, VM number. I'm going to throw a DHCP server on this, just so we don't, when we move the client from inside our network to outside of our network, it knows. There's a fail-safe mechanism with Active Directory and DHCP. If it senses Active Directory, it's not going to enable that DHCP to pass out IP addresses. For it to pass out IP addresses, you're going to have to authorize it. When we put a DHCP server on this machine, it's going to sense that Active Directory for the school's network and not turn on. So we need to bind our DHCP to this NIC before it'll actually work. If you don't do that binding, it's going to sense the DHCP, it's going to sense the Active Directory, and not actually light up. So it's important to know that we don't want to pass out IPs on this interface, only on this one. And we're just doing this so when we move a client from here to here, we don't have to do static IPs. Yep. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to do everything graphically.
Wait, is your video running through your senior hiatus or break?
No.
Said great things about it.
I got really brave and decided that we're going to install SCCM 2016, SQL Server 2016 on Server 2016.
How did that work
Not so well. But it was good because last night Robert in the class got a good nap because we were just jammed. Add roles and features. DHCP and remote access. Guys, and there's a little bit of a description right here if you want to read it about DirectAccess.
The fake ISP needs to remote access?
Yes, because it's going to be NAT. For my real network to get out, I've got to, it's essentially triple NAT. It's going to be NATed here, then NATed by the school before it gets to the internet. I'm going to install routing. It will install DirectAccess as well, but we're not going to use the DirectAccess feature on this machine.
Did you say no direct access?
No, you can't uncheck DirectAccess.
Oh, okay.
We won't use it. It's going to get installed. There's no way to avoid it. So while that's is installing, I'm just going to fix my resolution for my NAT.
I noticed they put in IIS, is that required?
Yes, DirectAccess is going to be using a web. It's going to be a web application. So it installs. Remember, I told you it uses the web application for two things: to actually make the connection, and also to test whether you're inside or outside. A lot of things are being done with the web server. So a lot of services you install, like if you install a WSUS server,
Yeah.
that's using a website to supply the updates.
But it's possible to not use IIS and do the same thing,
No.
right? No? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my fake NAT. Still running, so I'm going to go back to my real NAT. I'm not going to do anything to this just yet, so the video's not all broken up. I'm going to go to my DC and change the screen resolution. I'm going to the DA and changing my screen resolution. Now I'm going to change the resolution on my client. It just gets routed, but we need to do some special things. TCP, I forgot these.
Just double check, NAC is state, public, or private, right?
NAT gets fake public and private. But the thing about the NAT is there's no easy way to tell which one is private, which one is fake public. You have to disconnect one of the NICs. I'll show you that in more detail. I don't want to go ahead. I want to keep the video as linear as possible. One thing at a time, complete it before we move on. Okay, guys, this is taking a while. I'm going to pause this. Take your break now. I'm going back to my fake ISP. Everything's installed. First thing I'm going to do is go to Tools, DHCP. We can't authorize this server because it's we don't have an Active Directory for this machine. So I need to fix the binding before we do anything else. I want this DHCP server only to listen on this network, not the school's network. So I'm going to right-click the server, and then I'm going to do this add remove bindings. Yes, you can't right-click it. You have to have it the focus on that object, then right-click.
Or like,
No, we started doing
so you guys didn't go to like the post deployment?
No. Yep.
Then who's the-
Okay, so before we go to that other, I want to fix the bindings. First thing, I only want to listen on fake public.
click on your computer.
If you're behind me, I can come around.
Add bindings.
Click OK. Just let me double check something. I want to make sure IPv6. Okay, good. So we're only going to listen on this interface. Now, once that's done, now I can complete the DHCP process.
Which one did we leave check?
Fake public.
Left fake public check.
That's the interface I'm going to pass out IPs on. I'm not going to pass out IPs on the internet. So I'm going to do the DHCP first. We're only doing this for convenience purposes. When this client is moved to this subnet, we want it to get an IP, a public IP automatically.
What you click on? Browser and
No, I'm on DHCP still.
So what would happen if you left the public side check listed?
We wouldn't get green right here.
Would it?
No, because it's going to sense Active Directory from the school and say, wait, there's an Active Directory network here. We're not going to allow you to set up a rogue DHCP server. Okay, so I'm going to right click, new scope, and I'm going to call this fake public network. I can come to you if you need me to. Highlight CSA right click that. And good, that's good. Okay. Now. That's okay. We'll go in and out. Paul with me, right click IPv4. Highlight. Okay, so I'm going to go to next starting range. Guys, I'm just going to pass out 10 IP addresses. 10 to 20. So I don't have to deal with an exclusion. Robert, I'll come back there. Click next.
Go back 1 second. Okay.
I don't want to deal with exclusion, so I just made my range relatively small. I only have one client. So guys, what is the way to get out of this network?
The public.
Yeah, so if you're a client here and you want to get to the internet, you're going to send it out here, right?
Yeah.
So that's our router. Now I need to fix this. For this lab, I should have you set up 2 DNS servers. One to handle your public name space and one to handle your private name space. I'm going to have this DNS server do both, just to make the lab with less machines and less confusing. So I need to send all DNS traffic to this interface, or my NAT router, and that NAT router will have port forwarding and send it into the NAT router itself. So if this client wants to get to a DNS server, it's going to send it to this interface. I'll have port forwarding on, port 53 UDP, to send it into this DNS server. So this is going to be the DNS server that we're going to use. The only problem is this will have a private IP that is not visible on the internet. So I'm going to send it to my public IP here and have it send it into the private machine. So our I don't really care about a domain name. So I'm just going to remove this and remove this and then put in 131.0.0.1. Add. It's not going to validate, guys. It's not set up yet. Don't worry if it doesn't validate.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to add it. I know it ultimately will work. We don't have those machines set up yet. So we're going to activate the scope now. Franklin, you're going to have to go out of this utility and back in to see that it works. Franklin, you might need to do this. Right click, all task, restart. Highlight the server, right click, all task, restart. If you have red here, let me know.
No, I didn't do it yet, so I'm wondering like, how long it will take, because I want to buy a graphics card and all that. Remember last time it took like 2 weeks for me? Have you been paying for classes? Because you know if you pay for like, I think like, at least like 6 credits, you can like get your money back. All of it? Yeah. They call it like a grant. Now if you go to your, yeah, if you go to your browser, it's called a 10.8T form or something like that.
Yeah, I'll need it. Kind of shit pretty well.
Whatever you have, you should.
131.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see, we got the chair. You gonna look or? Yeah.
Talk about it. Okay. Just go walk through the window. Did you remember that? Listen, after we're done, I'm just going to re-put this machine. Because in that little bit of time, it sends the Active Directory and it shuts itself down. So guys, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to go over here to routing remote access. Right click, configure routing remote access. This is going to be a simple NAT. Guys, which is my public interface in this case?
One that's 10.
Right. That's our school's network. We're pretending that's public when actually it's just another private network. But that does have access to the internet.
Wait,
Do you have the same problem?
Come on, people.
Hold on, Brian.
Yeah, it's not showing.
All I did was do public.
No, my network is
Press cancel and go back.
like, I can't.
Go back.
It's very early.
Guys, there's a glitch
It's weird.
in RAS. If you don't have network cards, cancel and go back in.
No, man, I got mad at the VPN that I
So,
Cancel it and go back in. Yeah.
I'm like, I did everything on freaking stuff.
Oh my God. I didn't invent it.
the real public?
Wait, which is public or fake ID?
You got 2 clients?
One, what did you see?
You get it that right.
My trip work off right now.
You're professional. That's how the Mexicans are anymore.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, so guys, again, this is only necessary to trick the DA to think that it truly has a public IP address on the outside. So let's go on to NAT. How do I know which one is public and which one is, fake public and which one is private? Go to File, Settings. This one thing, if you screw up this, it'll make the whole network not work. So I'm going to go to my private network and not connect it. Click OK. So this one for me is private. Guys, save yourself some typing. Don't hit enter here. What do you hit here to go into edit mode of the next object?
Tab.
Right, tab. And this is, so this one is what? Fake public. Then reconnect this interface back up to the switch, the private switch. That is the only surefire way, other than looking at MAC addresses, to verify that NICs aren't flipped.
Can we change the name though?
So this one is going to be
Which one you on right now?
Private.
private.
Is that station number? The one?
No, everyone uses the same IP. If it's a station number, I leave it blank. On the case match or the match? I'm going to put 172. I haven't gone to that. But yes, you can put it there. But make sure you put gateway on that. To 131.00.
For the DA? The DA is private. Don't, your,
I got created by this still.
yeah, you need a public, private, then public, the three switches. Your NAT is gonna get,
Can I click OK?
no.
Yeah. Not yet.
Your,
Hold on. Was this supposed to be public or supposed to be private? Did we put it private?
yeah, that's right, so now create a private.
Fake public is private.
Now create a private, that's right, so add another.
You're right. You're asshole.
Well, what do you do for a living? Yeah.
So auto load. I can tell.
Because no, because you should start looking now for a job in the industry.
But
You'd be shocked at how much compared to other people out there doing the work, how much you know. I'm gonna click OK. This is new. Okay. So I'm gonna go to my fake public. I'm gonna put in my public IP address. And according to the diagram, 131.0.0.1, the gateway is my fake ISP. And I'm still going to send DNS to my DNS server.
You ever use OpenDNS?
Which one?
OpenDNS?
No, I've never even heard of it.
It's a free DNS server you can use. It's a
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
28667. Something like that. Sometimes when I like set up VPN connections, I use that. No.
For DNS, I just always end up using Google. And the thing is, like, back when it was Bell South, the DNS server would go down, and my internet connection would actually go down. And when it wasn't the internet connection at all, it was just couldn't resolve names. I'm gonna click OK. Close. Tools. Nope, we didn't install it yet. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Let's rename it. This is CS01 VM2. We're going to reboot and install routing remote access.
Okay. What if you install routing and remote access and then do the IP? Should be fine, right?
Right.
Still no green bar.
Then what you have is labeled as fake public is probably public.
I'm a short guy. I got short arms. What do you expect? See, I told him that's a little TX, bro. What's next after that? The regular now?
Now it should come up.
Go back to your thing.
No, bro.
Go back to your thing.
No, bro.
You were just.
I've done that before.
So, guys, I'm going to sign in, install routing remote access.
We're green.
Okay. So that was a good example why you don't want to listen to put a non-authorized DHCP server on a network that has Active Directory installed.
I gotta switch the tone like over
You know I had to install the one that makes you get up and shake it and do math problems. I can't I can't.
So you gotta do math and make it stuff like
Yeah, like you have to stand up.
That's
Why
messed
did
up.
why did
Yo,
y'all
they
do
even
that?
have one. They even like it has different features. One of the features is you scan a barcode somewhere in your house, and you put it in another room, and the only way to shut the alarm off. You have to go to that room. Shit, for real.
That's good though.
For real, yo.
I would have thought of that.
It's the only way I can get up and go to the gym. Other than that, I'm sleeping.
Just get married.
True story, man. True story.
Ryan,
Yes.
what are you adding to the NAT?
I'm just adding routing remote access now.
Okay.
You can run the command and just type route.
Did you add routing?
Just the same thing we did before, just remote access. Configure.
Just remote access
So,
itself?
what do you think?
We're going to do one special step here to open up these ports.
Stop being lazy, bro.
Dude, you can see it's F public. Don't really know. Type in F public.
I'm just going to go to the other screen and change the resolution for my client. I'm going to go into the wizard to configure NAT. Routing remote access. Guys, I got that glitch. What are you doing when you get this?
Cancel.
Cancel and go back and do it again.
Which one do I choose as my public?
Say, okay.
Just regular NAT, right?
Right. Now, guys, we're going to do something called port forwarding. I'm sure you've done it before with gaming. I'm just going to show you how to use this utility to do it. We need to forward in 443, which is what? HTTPS. Port 80, which is HTTP. Port 53, UDP. That's the DNS. And 62000 is not a standard one. That's for direct access. Okay, this one is going to be sent in to our DNS server. The other three will be sent into our DA. So if I get traffic on this public interface for one of these ports, it'll send it into the appropriate machine.
Wait, no, just run it on that. Just run it. Just, yeah. Brian, just to confirm, the fake NAT gets DHCP and routing, and then the regular NAT gets just routing.
Right. Okay, and you'll want to watch this, Adriel, because this is part something you haven't seen.
Okay.
So I'm going to go drill down into IPv4, highlight NAT. I want to choose the public interface and go to properties. Guys, in real life, you might have a set of IPs on your public interface, and you might need to do address pools. But right now, we only have one public IP. So we don't really need to do an address pool. We're just going to jump directly to the service and ports. I'm going to scroll down until I get to the bottom. I'm going to choose Secure Web Server. I'm going to send that into 172.16.0.3. I'm going to send it into the DA. So port 443 coming in is going to go to 172.16.03.443 going out. Okay? I'm going to do web server as well. Again, sending it into my DA. The other two ports I'm going to do don't exist. They're not predefined, so we have to manually make them. So far we've done secure web and web server.
And they go to the same IP, right?
They go to the same IP. So we're going to add the last port for direct access. I'm going to click add. I'm going to just call this direct access.
Is that port number the industry standard for direct access?
There is no industry standard for direct access. It's only Microsoft.
Oh.
But that is the port that it listens on. I don't know if you can change it. You might be able to. I'm not aware of how. But they're getting away from stuff in the registry. It's not as much in the registry as there was before. You might have to go to program data or something like that. So I'm going to click OK. And then I want to add one to my DNS server. When two DNS servers talk, they use TCP. When a DNS client and a DNS server talk, they use UDP. So for this particular lab, it's going to be a client and a server talking to one another. So we're going to say UDP, and don't forget to select UDP here. Right there. And this is going to go into the DNS server.
Actually, quick question, like unrelated.
Yeah.
When you do like port forwarding on the router, is it okay if you use the MAC address instead of like IP?
Yeah, that's because that's only good if there's only one subnet behind your NAT router. If there's multiple subnets, no, you'll have to use IP. You know, but I've never seen a router unless you talk about MAC filtering. But normally they go by IP, and some of the ones will even resolve them to names for you. So can I click OK? Click OK. This machine is done. I'm going to close that. I'm going to jump over to my DC. I'm going to configure my IPs first. These are my two upstream DNS servers that'll be changed to the loopback, and these will be converted to forwarders because this is my DC. Change my computer name. Remember, this is VM1, VM2, this will be VM3, VM4, and client. Client will be VM5. On this machine, I need Active Directory and DHCP. No, I cannot, sir. I have no markers. I have no markers. I looked.
Did Ray offer you one or two?
What'd you say?
Did Ray offer you one like?
They did. I didn't know that the room was out. I don't know why someone keeps taking the markers.
Maybe they take it to the other room.
So I'm going to. This is the same diagram that we used last 2 classes. I'm going to do Active Directory and DHCP. Because this is my first DC for the domain, it will also install DNS. While this is going on, I'm configuring the IP address for the DirectAccess server and hostname. That's the IP for this machine. That's the IP of my router. That's the IP of my DC. This is VM4. I'm not going to hit enter until my domain is up and running. So I can join it to the domain at the same time. Actually, while I'm waiting, I'll even install routing and remote access. I'm not going to configure anything until I'm joined to the domain and signed in as a domain admin. I think we realize that we don't need this. We just need direct access, right? Because this direct access server is going to exist on the inside of our network, not on the edge. So while that's going on, I'm going to jump back to my DC. Just to keep the video short, I'm going to pause until this is done. Okay, everything is done being installed from my DC, so I'm going to promote it to a DC. Going to create a new forest. Okay, I'm going to put in my Active Directory restore password. I'm going to choose all the defaults. After this is done, it should reboot. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, the DC is rebooting. The next thing I'm going to do is create a reverse for my private network, and I'm going to create a reverse for the fake internet. The reason I'm creating a reverse for the fake internet is because I don't have any public DNS server, so I'm faking our public DNS server. Remember how we resolved public.contoso.com to a 131 address? So I'm just doing that just so we have name resolution for our public facing interfaces. After DNS, I'm going to configure DHCP. Someone's thumb drive is going bad.
Trying to make a beat.
No laughing on the video. I think you enjoy this class. Okay, I'm going to pause the video again. This is taking. Okay, our DC is rebooted. I'm going to create a reverse for our private network and one for the public network. Again, I really wouldn't have a public network here, but we don't have a public DNS server, so I'm just kind of faking it. Is that a thumb drive or what is that? Oh. Oh yeah.
It's the cable.
Okay.
All this.
Okay, in my DNS, I'm going to create my two reverse zones. One for my private network. My subnet mask is /16, so I'm going to leave it at that. And one for my public network. Again, this is only because of I was faking it that we need to do this. I'm /24, so I'm going to put 3 outlets. So I need to create a host record and a pointer record for my public interface. Because it's on our NAT, it won't dynamically get created. Our NAT is not part of our domain. Only members of our domain will dynamically create host records or pointer records. So I'm going to call it public.contoso.com. My public IP is 001. Create my pointer record. Guys, if I didn't create this reverse before I did this, the checks box will generate an error saying it couldn't create the pointer. But I won't have the error now because I did create the reverse. So there is my pointer record for my public interface, and there is my host record for my public interface. Just to be more complete, I'm going to create my pointer record for my DC. The reason it wasn't created because the reverse didn't exist when this machine was booted. So I'm going to do register DNS client. Gotta wait till the script stops running. Okay. Okay, and come back here, refresh, and I have a pointer record for my DC. Okay, now my DC is configured. All other machines will dynamically create their host records because they're part of the domain. Next thing I'm going to do is configure my DHCP. Create my DHCP admin users group, my DHCP users group, and authorize my DHCP server. Now I can configure it. New scope for my private network. I'm going to put in all my available IPs. I'm going to exclude the first 10 for servers. 8-day lease. It will request a new IP address. The clients will request a new IP address in 4.5 days. My router is 0.1. My DNS server, domain name, no win server. Activate the scope now. If you get a blue mark here, just refresh. So my DHCP server is up and running. There's my settings. Here's my options. Last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a special group for my DirectAccess. We have to do this because we don't have any laptops in this network for demonstration. So we're just going to create a special group. We're going to use in our direct access. New group. Direct access clients. When we join our client to the domain, we're going to make them a member of this group. Okay, so now I'm going to my direct access server. I've already installed routing in remote access. I was waiting for this machine, for my DC to boot up before this machine is, I can join it to the domain. I'm going to click OK. Make sure you sign in as a domain admin. Don't sign in as a local admin. If you sign in as a local admin, you won't be able to create the group policies. The wizard will configure those group policies for us. Because we already installed routing and remote access, we should have a little flag in our notification center to launch the wizard. Okay, there's the flag. Okay, I'm just going to manually launch it. Remote access management. There's a little glitch here where you sometimes don't get the option to launch the wizard. If that's the case, we'll just play around with it till we get that wizard. Okay, so when I highlight direct access, I get the wizard to launch the wizard. I'm going to click that right here, and okay, we're going to do this option. We're going to do direct access only. This is not on my egress router. This is on the inside of my network. Okay, it determined that it was behind our edge device, our egress router, and it only has one network adapter on this machine. So I'm going to type in my public name for my public interface. That should resolve to 131 address. NS lookup. Public.contoso.com. Maybe if I spell it right. It does resolve to a public IP address. If it doesn't resolve to a public IP address, the wizard won't let you go on. Gray will never be, next will never be non-gray. Okay, I'm going to go here to edit my settings. Now, the only thing we really have to change here is under remote clients. Everything else is the same. So I'm going to go to remote clients and remove this checkbox because we don't have any laptops. In 2016, if we leave the default setting, our direct access is going to get the direct access client GPO. We don't want that because it's a member of the main users group. I'm going to remove that and add my group that I created. Direct access clients. My network connectivity assistant, there's no changes there. There's no changes for the GPO. My GPO is, there's the two names for my GPOs that it will create. This is going to be my direct access server. It's going to configure all my IPv6 settings for me. It's going to create my certificate. This machine is going to be my DNS server for IPv6, not my actual DNS server. This direct access server will resolve all our IPv6 names for us in the direct access infrastructure. When we go and change our name resolution policy, that's where it's getting these three items from. Click OK. Click Finish. Let it do its thing. Name resolution policy table. That's what we have to fix. You should get all greens except for that one warning. Close this. I'm going to go to my dashboard. Guys, Don't get nervous. This takes a few minutes to settle things down. I might have to reboot this machine because I want to get the direct access server policy. Okay, so I'm just going to reboot this machine just so I get that server policy. While that's rebooting, I'm going to go to my DC. I'm going to fix my policies. So that wizard just created 2 new group policies, one for my direct access server, one for my direct access clients. Here are those 2 policies. They're already linked. So if I go and look at my direct access client, I can see that the WMI filter is not highlighted. Here's the filter created for laptops only. We don't want to use that, but it's still there. I can see that this policy is only going to apply to direct access clients. Only direct access clients will be able to read and apply this policy. So we need to go in here and edit it. And guys, we could probably get away without this, but I think it responds a little quicker if we uncheck that proxy settings. Our name resolution policy. This was where we got the warning from. So I'm going to highlight this rule, edit it, uncheck the proxy, hit update. Contoso, edit the rule. It's already unchecked, so I'm good. Last one is direct access, edit the rule, uncheck the proxy, update. Guys, once you hit update, unlike other GPOs, you can just go to the next screen. This one you have to click apply or won't make the changes. The next thing we need to do is try to figure out where it's at. Configure our IPv6 transitioning technologies. I gotta remember where it's at. Okay, it's under administrative templates, network, IP, TCP/IP settings, and IPv6 transitioning technologies. Now, guys, this is the one we're going to be using to tunnel IPv6 data in IPv4 network. So I need to turn off these other ones. So the ones that have state, I need to enable the policy to disable that feature. So I'm going to edit it. I'm going to enable the policy to disable that state. I don't want to use this state. ISOTAP, same thing. Enable it, set it to disabled state. Teredo, enable it, change it to a disabled state. So you should get a total of 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. The only one that's going to be used is the IP HTTPS. So my policy is now configured. It pretty much did everything for me. I just had to tweak them a little bit. So I'm going to go to my client, join it to the domain, add it to that group, and test to verify it works. While that's booting up, I'm going to go to my direct access machine, verify my policy looks, my direct access server looks good. Again, guys, just give it a few minutes. Don't rush it. Don't start clicking 400 things. Just let it set for a little bit. It'll come up. Again, just maybe click refresh, give it a few minutes. It's getting better. Okay, there it is. Right now we don't have any remote access clients connected, or direct access client. So I'm going to configure my client on the network. Right now it's not joined to the domain. I don't need to configure the IP settings because I have DHCP configured. So it should get an IP automatically. So I'm just going to join it to the domain. Verify my IP settings. It's currently connected to the inside. I'm going to do NS lookup. Verify I can communicate with the domain controller. I can. I'm returning my IP of my DC. I'm going to join it to the domain now. So CS01 VM5, that's my next name, and Contoso.com. Going to reboot, and I'm going to have verify my NCA starts up automatically. Verify it determines that I'm local. Then I'm going to move it to the outside. Give it a minute. Let it determine that I'm remote. Should do it automatically. No, it's not. I need to add it to the group first. Until I add it to that direct access group, it won't read the policy. So while this is rebooting, since I've already joined it to the domain, I'm going to go to the DC. Close my group policy management window. Active Directory users and computers. I'm going to add that group, that computer to the group. Guys, when I change group membership for a computer, reboot the computer. If you change group membership and the computer's already booted, the computer won't know that it's added to a new group. So I'm going to go to this computer account, add it to the group. I could go to the computer account or the group and add the computer, 6 in one, half dozen the other. Whatever method you want to go with. So now this computer is a member of that group. So I have to reboot my client again. I could not do this until the computer was joined to the domain. If your computer isn't joined to the domain, this won't be possible. So I want to reboot my client one time. I'm just going to do it right here. You can verify that the client is reading the GPO with which command? GP result. Remember the GP result, / scope, computer / Z. That will let you know that you are in fact reading the GPO. I'm going to make that part of the video. Again, I'm going to sign in as a domain user. I only have one domain user in this case. While I'm waiting, I'm going to show you what GPOs my direct access server is getting. GP result / scope computer Z. I'm going to redirect that to a file on my desktop. I can see that I am getting the direct access. Am I reading that policy? No, it's been denied. It's been filtered out because the direct access server is not a member of the direct access client group. So the only two policies I'm reading and applying are the default domain policy and the direct access server settings policy. So let's look at our client. Still signing in for the first time.
That command is a universal command for a query on policy.
Right. There's a graphic utility that does it. I think it's a little more convoluted than that command. But that is your surefire way to know what policies you're getting. And when you have conflicts in your policies, and it's real easy to do, because you remember each policy has over 4,000 settings. And if you have 5, 10, 15, 20 policies the machine is getting, things can get very confusing very quickly. So the easiest way to do it is run that command and examine the policies. You know, it shows you a lot more settings than I showed you right there. If you scroll down, it'll show you every setting that is being set on that computer via that policy. Because remember, it collapses all policies together and then gives you one policy. It shows you one policy that's being applied.
So when you have a conflict, it takes the left, it shows you whatever the end result is.
It shows you the one that's close. It shows you the setting that is closest to the object. You know, the ones that are on the domain or the site are going to be farther away from the ones that are on the OU that you're in. So again, I'm going to GP result. Am I spelled right? I'm going to do the scope. This computer, guys, if you're having a user conflict, you'd put a user there. Right now, I'm only concerned about the computer policies. I'm going to redirect that to my desktop into an out file. I want to verify that I am in fact getting, too early, sorry. Am I getting the client policy? Yes. Do you want to go down? Am I getting the server policy? No, it's been filtered out. It's showing me exactly what groups I'm part of. You know, and all the settings are here. All the GPO settings for my direct access are here. So I can see I'm getting the policy, no problem. So I'm going to open up PowerShell. Once I get control of my start menu. Okay. I don't know why my start menu is not working. Okay, I'm going to go into command prompt and then run PowerShell. When you launch PowerShell, it runs a little script. Okay, so I'm going to do get DA connection status. That's what I'm going to get. Okay, get DA connection status. So it sees that I'm connected remotely because the direct access assistant, excuse me, the network connectivity assistant can talk to that website and see that I'm inside the network. So I'm going to take this machine and move it outside the network. I'm going to connect it to that fake public that I created. There's a DHCP server out there that's giving out fake public IP addresses. We set that up in an earlier class. Guys, again, this is one of those things you just got to give it a few minutes to work. I'm just going to verify I have a new IP. And I do. I have a public IP. Can I resolve my public facing interface? public.contoso.com. I can resolve it. So I'm just waiting for I'm just going to reboot this machine. I'm in PowerShell right now, so I can type in restart. I shouldn't have to do this. I'm just being impatient. This machine is running so slow. I'm going to pin this to the taskbar.
They don't let you put it on the desktop?
They might, but I'm an advocate of not putting things on the desktop.
Yeah, I know. It disappears.
Look at the website is down.
Web server room down.
Yeah, the web server's down. So IP, config all. I still have my public IP address. Get DA connection. Connected remotely. Guys, if I'd given it time before and was impatient and wasn't impatient, it would have worked fine. So it's connected remotely. I'm going to go back to my DA just to see that. I'm going to hit refresh. I have a client connected. This was an earlier connection I disconnected. And it's connecting through port 80. Connected to which server? My DirectAccess server. It's a tunneling protocol that's being used. Is IP over HTTPS. It's using Kerberos for authentication. If there was an ISP that they were connecting to, that would be here. So everything is working. So any resource that client could use inside the network, they can now access outside the network. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and let you guys copy it.